I apologize. It's like 100 degrees outside and my air conditioning can't keep up. And I have to shoot in this room because there's a festival going on outside. Because why isn't there? Why wouldn't there be? So I have to do this in the bedroom with this set that I don't like. And I'm sweating my fucking ass off. Jesus Christ. Anyway.
Everybody knows! Everybody knows! Everybody knows! Everybody
Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to the shit show I call Everybody Dies. This episode, we're finally going back to the 80s. I know this channel usually dwells in the 2000 era of garbage, but I love the 80s so much it's hard for me to find a movie that I can tear apart. But luckily for you, I know the place to go find a good one. So let's go. There's gotta be something good in here. Oh, there we go. Horror House on Highway 5. The nugget that wouldn't flush. Let's check this piece of shit out. Well, it looks like I found a good one. First, let's check out the different artwork for this movie. Here is the original poster. Great, looks like it fits in perfectly with other 80s slashers. This one looks like it was hand-drawn by an untalented, unloved child of divorce, and yet it's not the worst artwork. My DVD has the worst artwork. Now you say, yeah, that looks dumb and mediocre, but nowhere near as bad as the last. Well, look at the back of the DVD. Holy fuck, what the holy hell happened here? Who fucking designed this monstrosity? I hope they were fired. And executed. Anyway, let's move on. Horror House on Highway 5 was directed by Richard Casey, the production assistant on Alligator, and stars Nurse Shelley from Bride of Reanimator, the cinematographer of Army of Darkness, RV Girl from Death Valley, Smiley from The Unborn, and Ronald Reagan. Hey, don't give me shit, that's what IMDb says. So basically starring nobody. What's this poop loser about, anyway? I was going to read the description of the back of the DVD for you, so you know what the movie's about. But this is just... that's like a fucking novel. Good God. Even leaves a bad taste in Lucky's mouth. Well, I do love slashers, and I do love the 80s. And I do love shitty movies, especially ones that were literally just swimming with turds moments ago. So, let's hop into our 98 Grand Marquis and head out for the Horror House on Highway 5. Yeah, that music sounds very 80s, not 70s at all. There's no way this was made in 1985. 75, yeah, probably. The movie begins with Drayton Sawyer and his son playing with tarot cards. We know something is up when the father insists that Lamort means love, not death. See, he's smiling. Meanwhile, this Butterface is fucking about in her non-genre house that may or may not be on Highway 5, when all of a sudden...
I'm not a cricket!
Oh, it's just her boyfriend, and he's really bad at picking out masks. Now when the killer kills him, he's gonna have to wear that stupid looking thing the rest of the movie. But first, she sends the boyfriend out to get some stuff. She doesn't tell him what stuff, so he'll go to the store and buy some stuff, and then bring it home and it'll be the wrong stuff, and then she'll yell at him for buying the wrong stuff when she should have got the right stuff. Really, he should have just bought the stuff. Why am I not watching that instead of this? So he goes to get the stuff, and he gets killed in his car. Due to lack of lighting or knowledge of filmmaking, we can't see exactly how he dies. It appears like he was high-fived to death. Back to Butterface, who is now taking a shower and showing off her bad tan lines. That shower cap is sexy as hell, however. She makes stupid faces in the mirror. That reminds me of something. She hears a noise and goes to inspect the motherfucker. Surprise, it's Tricky Dick as he pushes her around like an elementary schoolyard bully. Then, without even hurting her, just being really annoying about it, he stops and starts going through her things. What a jerk. Words can't explain what happens next. Why the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit of fuck did she do that? She slowly stands up and looks at her bloody wrist, and her face still looks buttery and uninterested. Hell, even Nixon comes to check on her and is more concerned than she is. After making as much noise as possible, she is now trying to be stealthy. She grabs the biggest, dullest shard of glass and lurks around like a dipshit. Nixon springs on her and gives her a coarse neck rub, and she drops her shard of glass. She reaches for it, gets it, and falls asleep from the relaxing massage. Then we're off to City College to learn how to make movies so this never happens again. This school also cannot afford proper lighting. Looks like I finally found someone who loves acute mountain sickness as much as I do. The little town that this movie takes place in is called Littletown, and it's right off Old Highway 5. Neat. Now here's Sally.
Oh, excuse me.
I've been discussing your term project.
Why does everybody in this movie just feel off? There's bad acting, and then there's whatever is going on here. So everybody gets assignments except for the 80-year-old dude with no lines at the end. Sally manages to not get anyone killed as she visits the weird guys from the beginning. They're definitely the weirdest fucks in town and are apparently scientists. Terrifying. They come off like if some small, poor country tried to make their version of Breaking Bad's Walt and Jesse. Gary, the son, or assistant, or whatever, burns whatever he was cooking, and Sally leaves. Dr. Marbusa sends Gary to go get her, so he grabs the chloroform and goes out and drugs her in broad daylight. Gary somehow kidnaps the wrong woman, so he drops her off on a bench next to another person who doesn't seem concerned at all and leaves. Kitty! Later that night, Sally's dumb ass comes back. I guess the Nazi porn wasn't a big enough warning sign, and the guys drug her without being the least bit obvious about it.
You'll have to excuse him, Miss Smith. He's sort of an idiot.
Sally drinks her drink, and somehow the lighting gets worse. Sally's acting is so bad, I don't know if the drug worked or not. Maybe she was already sleepy. The dipshit duo take her somewhere else, possibly the horror house on Highway 5? They keep talking about some Dr. Bartholomew. I think he was a Nazi who did Nazi shit and they're fans of his. They seem stupid enough to be. So now he's reading German from some book and Gary has an iron.
What's wrong? What's wrong with you? Look at you, you've got a boner.
Gary can't go through with the tit ironing because you can't iron what's not there. Then he hands the doctor the iron. This is the worst Harry Potter LARPing I've ever seen. This slapstick shit still isn't funny. This isn't a comedy. It's supposed to be a goddamn horror movie. Meanwhile, whatever her name was, and Ugly as Fuck Man are driving in the wide open middle of nowhere, and she still somehow manages to wreck. On nothing.
What'd you do, run over something? My god, the chemicals, we could have been exploded.
You know, this guy kind of looks like a baboon's ass and Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Zoinks! Like holy shit, Scoob!
The hell's this dead cat for?
Kitty, no!
Dead cat.
There's the dead cat in here, it's cut up, disemboweled. Who put it here?
Dead cat? Well, I certainly didn't.
She doesn't seem to give a fuck at all, considering that's her cat from earlier. Also, there are plenty of places to bury it, but they just throw it in a random trash can in the middle of nowhere. There's also another mystery for the gang to solve.
Hey, Luis, there's a dead guy in the trash can back there.
A dead man? In the trash can?
Come on, see for yourself.
These random morons are such good actors. While drinking and driving, they almost hit Ronald Reagan.
She give me the fingeroo? Hey, I'm gonna fuck you, man. I'm gonna fuck you, man. You gotta be the biggest, dumbest, ugliest, most fucked up I have ever seen. What the hell? Oh, just wait a minute, friend. Don't get riled, you know. Just have a little fun.
What's wrong with you? You just ran that guy over. You must have a low IQ. You can't be dead.
Nobody likes a bloody dick. I'm pretty sure they sent different groups of people to random places and filmed them doing improv for hours. Nothing is happening or makes any sense, and it's maddening. What the fuck is this movie? The doctor thinks these maggots are brain parasites coming from his head. This movie has me feeling the same way. What the fuck is that sound effect? It sounds like someone desperately trying to squeeze the last bit of ketchup out of the bottle. Sally tries to get Gary to let her go when the woman from the nonsense from earlier walks in and Marbusa grabs her. Next scene, she's running outside, squeezing more empty ketchup bottles. She enters the red door and Marbusa says don't go in there and gimps back into the house. Meanwhile, in the red room of lame, What's-Her-Face gets a crooked D for her trouble.
Stop it! Hey, relax. Just put your fucking mind at ease, huh? Hey, what are you, nuts? Stop it!
Let's see what Shaggy and Velma are up to. Shaggy finds his way to the house from the beginning. The Butterface house, not the horror house. On Highway 5.
I need to use your telephone. I'm just gonna turn on the lights here. Nah, never mind. I'll use the phone down the street. So the dumbass manages to find the horror house on Highway 5. From the movie Horror House on Highway 5. Not only that, but he goes into the Red Room of Lame within the horror house on Highway 5. He's been walking around in the dark for what feels like hours while random noises are heard. Should have been called House of Wacky Sound Effects on Highway 5. Somehow the sound effects are hurting him, and then this happens.
a low IQ.
He just needs some Scooby snacks. This looks familiar. That's how she sleeps? Holy shit! Louise hears some noises, but they don't cause her to bleed and impale herself, so she goes to look around until she looks at the ground for a while. We never see what she's looking at, and then she runs back to the van and locks herself inside. Now someone's banging on the van, but this isn't Bang Bus, unfortunately. Louise runs as Bloody Dick enters the van. And where does she run to? One of the other 3 locations that they've been using this whole movie. Little Town was right. Great, more Gary and Sally bullshit.
You want to dance? Gary, no. Gary, no. I meant you want to dance with me.
Crispin Glover has met his match.
You know that I can hide my love because it's you. I'm thinking.
Sally finally tricks Gary into uncuffing her, and she runs 2 feet away and apparently stands there off screen because Gary waltzes right over, grabs her, and chains her back up. Hey look, Louise is in the Horror House on Highway 5 from the movie Horror House on Highway 5.
Shut up.
Sorry. No, not the Red Room of lame sound effects. I still don't understand. We see nothing. We only hear whipping sound effects and then people get hurt. Is this fucking paranormal? But only when using a red lens? I don't understand.
My head hurts. Don't pull the rake. No. Oh, jeez.
Oh, he has a sweet homemade Nazi hat and is writing a letter to Gary. Apparently they're brothers and Ronald Reagan is their dad. Why not? Look, he found the drill from the movie poster. Too bad we never meet this mysterious, beautiful woman. Louise is attacked by the Doc, and he makes his weapon look as unmenacing as possible, and she doesn't react in any way whatsoever to any of it. Louise makes it to the van, and the Doc sets off a bomb we never saw get made, and she gently taps him with a tire iron until he spazzes out to death. Louise gets attacked in the woods and kills Richard Nixon with a rocket she made in school. She unmasked him, and we have no idea who it is or care. That Bartholomew guy we never saw unmasked. I guess. Whatever. Who cares? Fucking hell. We fade to white, and Gary is dancing with Sally's corpse, finally making sense of this tagline at the end of the goddamn movie. Louise wakes up the next morning and makes it to Highway 5? She gets picked up by this adult virgin who loves blankets and hot chocolate, and he starts to get handsy when they pull over to a call box. She checks on the blankets and hot chocolate so the fat ass will shut the fuck up, and surprise, it's a dick! Right before they drive off, she manages to bite the dick and get away. Nixon closes the van door and the credits start. Mercifully, the credits are less than 2 minutes long and the nightmare is over.
This whole movie was just a rip-off of The Tripper that came out like 20 years after it. And Point Break. Radical. Maybe if it was Whorehouse on Highway 5, it would have done better. Starring Dick Nixon. The whole movie reeked of 70s exploitation, and it definitely was not a slasher movie from 1985. It did not feel like 85 at all. Turns out they actually shot it in 1978, and it took 7 years for it to get finished and released. So that explains why it reeks in so many ways. To be fair, the sheer wackiness of it makes it memorable. There's some dialogue that will just stick with me to the rest of the time. You know, and maybe, people love that 70s kind of nonsense where it doesn't have to make any sense. It's just crazy, and they're probably all on fucking drugs anyway, so that explains a lot. And people love that kind of shit, so maybe that's why it hasn't disappeared into obscurity completely. You know the worst part, though? The director made a sequel in 2014. You know what it's called? Horror House on Highway 6! I'm not fucking watching it.